Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new video here on the channel. Today I'm doing something a bit requested and something a little different in what I do on WoW videos. Basically going to do a ranking of each class that I play. And mind you, this is personal opinion as to how much fun I have with it. I'll list some pros and cons that I see per each one and go from there. But hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. If you do, go ahead and press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into the video. Alright, so number 8 on my list is going to be Paladin. So my experience of Paladin is that I've mostly played as the tank, and for survivability and, you know, soloing content, it makes it kind of easy, just kind of slow. Overall, the best thing that I like about them is the Captain America shield and their survivability. I have played Ret a bit, but I don't enjoy it as much. Yes, they can definitely put out some numbers, especially in AoE, but it's just not very fun for me. And I think a major reason that I don't enjoy it more than I could is simply because of their lack of maneuverability. I mean, they really only have one ability, which is the steed right here, but it doesn't last nearly long enough. You can talent it to get 2 points into it or 2 charges out of it, but it's still, I mean, comparable to other things, it just doesn't last. So this is why the Paladin, for me, is number 8. Alright, and coming in at number 7 for me is going to be the Priest. The only real experience I've had with the Priest is Discipline. I haven't really done Holy, and I dabbled in Shadow a little bit, but it wasn't really my favorite. So mostly I've just dealt with Discipline and healing. Overall, they're not a bad healer, and I think it is interesting that a lot of their healing comes from just damaging, which makes it good in solo content because you just pop a shield on yourself and then damage, and you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. One of the major downsides I have with them, though, is they don't have a lot of maneuverability. Because I've spec'd in a certain way, my shield will actually give me a little bit of a movement speed buff, but not a whole lot. And compared to some other healers, healing while on the move, at least for me, is very difficult, because a lot of these spells are casting, and there's no way to really make them insta-cast. So as far as healers, not my favorite, but it does have its merits and it can be fun. It's just not as fun as some of the others. Okay, and coming up at number 6, we have the Warlock. I've actually played 2 specs of the Warlock. I interchange between Demonology and Affliction. Affliction, of course, right now is on top as far as DPS, although, quite honestly, my DPS on my Affliction does not reach the DPS that I can on Demonology. I think the problem with Demonology is probably that it caps out sooner than Affliction does, and so maybe for earlier on, Demonology might be better, but once you get into end game, Affliction is supposed to be the best. Now, one thing I will say where Demonology shines is Torghast. Because of the anima powers you get there to boost your pets, and the fact that your pets are already so heavy on that spec, it makes it a lot more viable. I mean, I've gone through twisting corridors with my Warlock, and I can reach upwards of, 100 to 120k of damage. And most of that is just because of the pets. Either way, I think both specs are fun. They're just a little different. Affliction requires a lot of ramp up, whereas Demonology, you're just kind of going out the gate. Because it's mostly, like I said, your pets. They're both very good, but as far as ranged, it's definitely not my favorite, although I've played Warlock since vanilla, and when Shadow Bolt spamming was your highest DPS, so things have changed quite a bit in Shadowlands for them, but overall still pretty enjoyable. Alright, coming in at number 5 is the highest healer spec that I've played, and that is the Shaman. Now on the Shaman, I've only done Resto, so I can't really state too much about enhancement or elemental. I've only done Resto, but they are a lot of fun, whether it be soloing content or going through Torghast or raiding or mythics. Either way, they're fun, and they have so many abilities that just make things super easy. Their heals, they can do a lot of those while running. In fact, they also have an ability to allow them to cast while they're running. Of course, it is on cooldown. But they're so versatile. And they hardly ever run out of mana if you know what you're doing. Using the water shield, it really is almost impossible to run out of water unless you're just spamming the wrong heals. They also have Riptide, which comes in a very good pinch, and if you do it properly, it'll make your next heal vary. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool things with him, and as far as overall fun, definitely the best healer that I've played. And do this because it just looks cool. Just like I said, so much versatility. They did nerf him a little bit, which kind of put it lower on my list, I guess. But I know Elemental Shaman's got those same kind of nerfs, which sucks, but it is what it is. Alright, coming in at number 4 is the Hunter. Now, I've actually played 2 different classes, or specs on the Hunter. I go back and forth between Beastmaster and Marksman. Both have their fun sides. With Beastmaster, of course, you get the cool pets, and you don't have stuff attacking you because you have the pets. They are quite interesting, and of course the different pets have their own unique type of abilities. The DPS, I think, especially at mid-range levels, around item level 200, etc., is negligible between the two. I think it doesn't really matter which way you go, you'll be pumping out damage. It's just how you pump out that damage will be different. With Beastmaster, it seems to be more focused on single target. However, Marksman gets a lot more buffs towards AoE. But of course, you don't have your pet to protect you, you can, technically, but if you don't, you get this bonus where you deal more damage. So essentially, in this case, what you want to try to do is get trick shots, which make your abilities hit multiple targets. But they do have more AoE, so they're very good in that circumstance. So it really just depends on what your preference is and what you'd like to play with each. They both have their bonuses. It's hard for me to pick which one I would rather play. I think if the numbers were there for me, I would say Marksman would probably be a little better for me. But again, it's all down to personal preference. Alright, and number 3 for me is going to be the Demon Hunter. Now the spec that I typically play on a Demon Hunter is Tank. Oh no, let me get this. You're too quick. Alright, I'm about to kill you. I really enjoy the versatility of the tank and the ability to get their health back, which is pretty cool. Crap, of course it's gone. But they're also very maneuverable. They've got that fist stomp, which is pretty awesome. Ooh, I got stunned. But no fears. I'll just heal myself up. Why not? They've just got a lot of stuff that they can do. Plus they kind of have like an oh crap situation, at least I do, where this model will pop up if I get too low. Kind of like in Torghast when you get that anima power where if you drop below 20 health you heal up. It's kind of the same, except it doesn't heal you up to full, it just heals you up some. But it's still pretty nice. I love their maneuverability though, and the fact that that will do damage to anybody in that circle. It's very, very nice. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. I have done the DPS a little bit. I wouldn't say a whole lot, but it too is pretty fun, and they seem to be able to do some pretty mega AoE damage, which is always nice. So yeah, as far as tanking goes, they are at this point my favorite, of course. So we've mentioned the only other tank I have is a Paladin, and the main reason that I don't enjoy that as much is because of the maneuverability. Okay, and coming in at number 2 is going to be the Druid. Now I mentioned earlier that the Shaman was the highest healer that I've played, and that is true because I've never played a Druid healer. The only spec I've played on Druid is Balance, which of course we all know right now, until the next patch anyway, that they are one of the most damaging classes. I haven't quite made it to that point myself, but I still have a lot of fun with it. I personally don't like the boom chicken, so that left me with playing Zandalari Troll, which is still not the best, but a lot better than the boom chicken. And of course we all know that Convoke is the skill of the hour when it comes to the Druids. But of course they have other nice features, like being able to mount, well not mount, but travel form in the mall. I mean, it doesn't really help me that much because I have the actual Twisting Corridors mount. But for those who don't have that and didn't want to put the time in through it, the Druid can travel without it. They also have the capability of sneaking around if needed with Prowl, which is pretty nifty. They can sprint every once in a while. There's just a lot of stuff that they can do. And because they're so versatile, I like them. As far as gameplay when you're DPSing, it's fairly straightforward. There's not a whole lot into it, which, depending on your preferences, could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. That's totally up to you. Me, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And maybe one day, before the new patch hits, I'll get some decent damage out of it, which would be cool. Alright, and last but far away from least is my number 1, the Rogue. Now on the Rogue, I play what I like to jokingly say all the time is the least viable option, or the crappiest rogue, however you want to put that. I play the sub-rogue. Now, for me though, the sub-rogue is a lot of fun, and when I think of a rogue, I think of backstabbing, which is why this one is perfect for me. It doesn't do the best AoE damage, and supposedly it doesn't do the best single target damage either. However, I've managed to get sometimes around 6k, which I know probably isn't the best, but it's still very viable, and I enjoy it a lot. With the Rogue, of course, you have your stealth, which is very beneficial. You can also teleport to your enemy, which helps especially in raid fights and stuff like that, where you're getting pushback, like for example Sludgefest. Those can be kind of annoying, and you can lose out on DPS because you're running back. Well, in this case I don't have to, which makes it really nifty. So it just depends, but Rogue for me is definitely the favorite. It's kind of funny because when you're in a mythic, if you don't have a rogue, you don't think about it. But every time that I've gone into a mythic as a rogue, people suddenly remember that Shroud is a thing, where I can make everybody go into stealth, and it ends up being very useful. But having played, 7 other characters in mythics, you don't see that as a high priority until you have it. The downside about rogues is they can be very hard to get into random groups, especially as a sub-rogue, because, nobody thinks that sub-rogues can put out any damage. But I hold my share. And I've managed to, get through a lot of the content. Not all of it, but a lot of the content as a rogue. So it's a lot of fun. But anyways, that rounds off my top 8 list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. As always, thanks for watching.
You wear a hat, they call dad. Me, I'm the dad in a hat. You just like clubbing and clothes. Me, I like afternoon naps. 3, I be missed for the road. My oldest like counting racks. You wear a hat, they call dad. Me, I'm the dad in a hat.